So first I'll introduce you to everybody on the call. We got Tom Canavan from the AP, James Cratch, NJ.com, Richie Schneiderite from the Night Report, Robin Dean from News 12, Bobby Darren, 24/7 Sports, Mike McGarry from the Atlantic City Press, and Chris Nowalski from the Night Report. So we'll keep the format the same as Friday for those of you who joined us then. Coach will start with a statement and then we'll go into questions. You could just keep your line on mute if you're not talking, please. So, Coach, you want to start with a statement?
Yeah, definitely. Hey, guys. Great to hear some of those newspapers. I'm definitely familiar with a few of you guys, and having grown up in this state and the Tulsa world and the Oklahoma, I had to kind of get used to. But now that I've heard some Atlantic City Press and NJ.com, I'm definitely aware of you guys. So great to be back in New Jersey. Kind of weird circumstances, you know, with all the things that are going on in the state right now, with going to get groceries and wearing a mask and gloves, and doing this meeting over the computer. But certainly excited to be back in this state. My wife's from New Jersey. My whole family's here. So one of the main motivating factors for me to come back and to be with Coach Schiano. So fired up about that, and really fired up to be with the staff that we've assembled here. These are great men. The coach said it, I think, a week or so ago. You know, one of the most important values of the guys that he's hired on staff has been the simple question: would I let my sons be coached by this guy? And I think that we've hit a home run in every category in that regard. And for me, you know, especially guys like Andy Orick and Nunzio Campanile and Augie Hoffman, guys I've known for a long time, getting a chance to finally work together with all of them under one roof, and then adding a legend like Taekwon Underwood to the mix. I think we've got a great offensive staff. So fired up from top to bottom to be in the building with these guys once we do get back, but really happy to be under the hood with you guys today, back in my home state. So fire away.
All right, thanks, Coach. We'll start with Tom Canavan. 2 questions, and we'll just keep moving down the line.
Hey, Sean, how you doing?
Hey, Tom.
The first and most basic question: what is a Sean Gleeson offense?
Sure. Hopefully a good one. That's kind of been my last couple of years. We've had really great success, so I'm looking forward to continuing that. The 2 words that we throw around in recruiting and in kind of questions like that in the media is we want to be fast and physical. Okay, and that sounds like a coach platitude, but to me it's a little deeper than just throwing out those 2 words. In regard to fast, we want to be a fast no-huddle offense. So, you know, if you could envision like the best press basketball team that you guys have ever watched, that's kind of how we want to do our business. So we'll be operating primarily out of shotgun, but you'll see an aggressiveness in the way that our guys line up and address the next snap that should be different. You know, it should be something like, wow, these guys are going at a pretty good clip. We want to snap the ball around every 15 seconds. It's kind of our time stamp for no-huddle football. So the no-huddle operation is the first layer of fast. The second would be we literally want fast people. So you guys have covered a ton of sports. Our playing surface is enormous. We have 110 yards of vertical space at most, and we have 53 1/3 yards of width. That's compared to basketball, they got fast people on that court, but they don't have that much space. So if we can get some guys that move from point A to point B, we'll be in great shape. And then, you know, the last thing that I say is if you take Usain Bolt and you put him on a football field, even though he's a fast person, he's not going to play very fast. So I feel like being at Rutgers under Coach Schiano, we've always been on the cutting edge of how to teach human beings. So he's studied the brain extensively. He understands how we're going to coach in sound bites, not in sentences. And I really want to teach the game of football that in such a manner that we win the battle of fast thinking. So we want to be fast, no huddle. We want to be fast people, and we want to be fast thinkers. So those are the layers of fast. And the physical side of it, I got in trouble last year saying East Coast physicality in the middle of the country. They didn't really take kindly to that phrase, but we definitely want to be a Coach Schiano physical football team. And every guy that comes to practice and visits will see us tackling. They'll see the way that our guys block in the perimeter. They'll see the way that we finish the ball at running back. You know, the old adage is the guys that don't fumble are usually ones that finish their runs the best. So there should be their guys going backwards and our guys going forward on our tape consistently. So that's kind of makes up fast and physical. And then the third pillar is the ball. So I know you guys like statistics like I do, but in the Big Ten in the last 4 years, if you don't turn it over, you win 71% of the time. If you turn it over once, you win 57% of the time. So we've got to address the fact that the ball is the program. And we know it's directly tied to winning percentage. So if we're fast, we're physical, we take care of the ball, we're going to be a Sean Gleeson offense, but more importantly, we're going to be a Rutgers offense.
And the second question is, obviously, spring's a time when you get your first look at your quarterbacks. Without a spring, is your quarterback situation based solely on what you see whenever you get together?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think practice is our secret sauce. That's kind of been the case everywhere I've been. The tempo at which we practice, the aggressiveness. There's going to be nobody collecting rain on their shoulder pads when we're practicing. There's going to be a lot of movement. So you guys should notice that when we come visit. So now that we don't have that, the environment for evaluation is obviously slightly different. We've done everything that we can to bring practice to these guys within the rules. So I told the wide receiver group, we've studied long and hard at how much movement that they undergo over the course of a practice. So it's about 4 miles of running in a practice, typical no-huddle practice. Okay, so everything that we've done over the web is great, but that's 4 miles of your body confirming everything that you just learned in the meeting. So that would have been 15 chances to do that in the spring. We've lost out on that. So whether it's the quarterbacks, which I know is the nature of your question, we're all kind of missing around 4 miles of movement with our bodies to confirm what our minds are learning. So we've got to do our best cultivating that within the rules to try to get them to kind of do what we want them to do. And then when they get back, I think the next question that everyone's going to be asking themselves is we got to make sure that we don't waste any time. So we hadn't had a chance to practice. We can't take a week or two figuring out how to practice. We got to be ready once we get back. And that's going to help in the quarterback evaluation. That's going to help, obviously, once we roll into the season, these guys start taking live bullets.
All right, James Cratch, NJ.com.
Hey, Sean, how are you?
Great. How are you?
Good. I'll ask you mentioned the wide receivers. That's a group that the last few seasons has really seemed to struggle, underachieve, and a lot of people would say, what do you kind of make out of that group? And there's a lot of guys there, too. I think there might be, well over about 15 scholarship, or we assume to be scholarship receivers at this point.
Yeah. It's a great question. I think everyone's concerned that, the questions of how do we get this thing going. I think that's in all areas of the program, right? Your question could be posed very easily in recruiting. It could very well get posed to the defensive coaches. That everyone's concerned on how we're going to take this thing in the right direction. The good news is I've been in a hole coaching football for the last 10 years, and I haven't watched any TV games. So the only Rutgers that I know is the one from 2000 to 2010. And I'm really confident about the guy that's leading the way and his ability to reform the roster and the way that we go about our business and practice. So I'm going to try to stay away from any question related to a position group because I really don't know what was being asked of them, too. I just know that every time that we charged these guys with a responsibility in the couple months that we had them, they did everything in the best, to the 10th degree. And that's all you can really hope for when you embark on a new job and what we're trying to do and get done here is get some willing participants that are going to go the extra mile for you. So I like the fact that there's a lot of them. I know there's going to be a ton of competition, but ultimately we're all pulling in this thing together. I don't want to single one group out or another group out. It's we've got a lot of areas to improve on. So.
And you're technically the 11th offensive coordinator in 11 seasons at Rutgers. What sort of challenges does that provide in terms of building on a lot of lack of continuity? Do you kind of embrace that you kind of get to make this over as your own?
Yeah, we have continuity, though. We have a staff of all New Jersey people, Rutgers people that, before taking this job, my only experience with Coach Shiano was all the guys that I met that coached for him. every single guy that I met, whether it was Anthony Campaniles of the world, whether it was the Andy Aricks of the world, Tommy McIntyre, all these guys that are in my era of coaching, they're all fantastic teachers of football. So you add in a little bit of New Jersey flair with, Augie and Nunzio and Taekwon's background and all the guys on defense. We're almost like kindred spirits. So we have continuity right from the get-go. And despite there being some turnover on the full staff or just the offensive staff, I feel really good about looking into the eyes of our players and telling them that we're a unified group and that we're kind of going in the right direction. So I know there's been some turnover here, but like I said, I've been under a rock. Usually if you watch TV games as a college football coach, you're not doing your job very well. So the only Rutgers that I know are the ones that the games that I watched when Coach Shiano had this thing going.
Hey, Sean.
Thank you.
G. Schneiderite, Night Report.
Hey, Coach, hope all is well. So the first thing I got for you, going back to the quarterbacks a little bit, during your time at Princeton, you had a quarterback at Princeton who's in the NFL as an H-back and a quarterback at Princeton who's now a drop-back passer in the NFL. Mm-hmm. What's your philosophy there? Do you kind of prefer a dual threat or a Prostyle type guy?
Mm-hmm. Oh, I'll say it again. I prefer a good one. So that's my first answer. But I think the things that have made me a commodity in the coaching world is my ability to be a chameleon. So I definitely didn't play dual threat wise. I believe your offense is an indication sometimes of where you played, who you've coached with, and then what you've studied. So I bring my experience as a player, as a quarterback, to whatever kid I coach for sure. But I wouldn't be worth a lick if I couldn't make it flexible enough for a dual threat kid to play in. So there's my experience with John Lovett, right? John Lovett, rushed for 100 yards, passed for 200 in 2018. We broke the league record for points scored in a season and yards in a season. They've been playing football in the Ivy League for a long time. So what you have to do is take yourself out of football supposed to be played this particular way. And if your brain can handle, imparting advice to somebody that maybe wasn't the way that you went about your business, I think you're going to make yourself a more well-rounded coach in that way. So I don't really have a preference. I like guys that throw because of what I said before. The field is so big. Sometimes when you're limited as a thrower, it narrows the field a little bit, in my opinion. You can't touch different parts of the field with the ball. But I would love, in a perfect world, a thrower who can run, if that makes sense. There's a priority in that.
Gotcha. And then going back to January when you were first hired, I think the first recruit you reached out to was Evan Simon. How important was it to keep him on board and just get him here at Rutgers?
Yeah, we're trying to get everybody. I mean, we called everybody. So we called everybody in the class. If you guys have noticed, we've done a great job of building a roster from the top and the bottom, whether it was walk-ons or scholarship guys. And there's a few more helmets and trophies when you talk to Coach Shiano on the wall, so I'm going to stay away from some of the roster management questions. I got my diploma on the wall, but I don't have as much experience as he does. So the roster stuff is he points us assistants in the right direction to recruit, and then he makes all the decisions on that stuff.
Okay. Cool. Thanks, Coach. Appreciate it.
Go to Robin Dean, News 12.
Hey, Coach. Before you mentioned, your Jersey guy surrounded by all Jersey coaches, I'm wondering when you're in Oklahoma if it gave you any new perspective or changed your style and what you're kind of going to bring back that you learned from there to go back to the East Coast.
Yeah, definitely. I was hoping you guys were going to ask me a Springsteen question today, but I don't know if Coach Shiano got that one. But I'd love to share my Springsteen wisdom with everybody. But yeah, there weren't too many Springsteen fans in Oklahoma, but there were a lot of really good football coaches and a lot of passionate people about football. That part of the country is, the kind of like a rabid fan base in that part of the country, whether it's through Texas and Oklahoma. But there's a ton of things. People kind of are poking around a little bit to see how much we'll take from Oklahoma State in my time there, but like I said before, I think your offense is a lot of times influenced by where you played, who you've coached with, and then what you've studied. So my 1 year there definitely be kind of like an imprint on my coaching career. And we'll have some things in the offense that schematically were a part of what they did. But like I said, every year is a new challenge, and you have to figure out your personnel. So whether it was things from Princeton or things from Oklahoma State, if they're a bad match for our personnel, we're not going to do it. So.
I guess I have to follow that up then with your favorite Springsteen song and favorite Springsteen lyric.
All right. So if you want, I thought about this. I'm like, all right, should I go super obscure and talk to all the great Springsteen fans out in New Jersey? But I'll tell you, when I signed the contract at my home in Oklahoma, and my wife and I were kind of watching the ink dry, I did have Live in New York City, Prove It All night. So that was kind of just a window into the Gleeson household at that moment when we knew we were coming back to New Jersey. So I'll stick with that.
Thanks so much.
Yep.
Bobby Darren, 24/7.
Coach, I wanted to ask you about quarterback recruiting. Without the spring evaluation period, how are you kind of compensating for the lack of getting out to see guys throw in person? Because I know that's a big time for you looking at, future quarterback recruits.
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think all of us are kind of learning on our feet here with this weird COVID, recruiting rules. I thought that we did a tremendous job kind of getting our recruiting operation off the ground virtually at Rutgers. And but the thing that you do miss is that, you're out there physically watching them throw in shorts and a T-shirt. I think the recruits have responded in a really smart way. A lot of those people are trying to bring those throwing sessions to the coaches. So, obviously we have game tape and highlight tape to evaluate, which have kind of always been the same. But, the recruits have been taking ground footage and sending them to the coaches. So to replace that one-on-one interaction where you get to see them standing 10 feet away and watching their arm work. So I've gotten my fair share of that video, and that is a touchstone in our evaluation as well. I do like to see it. Sometimes on the game tape or the highlight tape, you can't really see up close and personal, and that has been of value to me for those kids that have sent that. So whether it's working out in their home gym or throwing out on the field with their dad, you can definitely glean some things. And in some ways, I think that the really good recruiters and really good evaluators are still going to be able to spot the things that they need to spot. And it's made the really good ones probably stand out. So hopefully we've got an advantage there.
And just piggybacking off of that, what do you look for in these recruits? You said, in those evaluations, some of those, more than just, the arm strength and stuff like that. What kind of do you look for in your quarterbacks?
Sure. Competitiveness is number one. So I like guys that play multiple sports. I like guys that compete all year long, that have a gene about them that they never want to lose in a game of basketball. They're always looking to win. The Jordan documentary has kind of given us evidence of what that looks like, right? They need to be intelligent. I think that one of the things that I try to preach to the quarterback is I could coach you in a very capable way. I could get you to do everything that a quarterback needs to do, but in order to really capitalize like these great guys like Brady or Manning, you have to give them the ability to play three-dimensional chess when the game's going on. So that's what we call the difference between capability and capacity. If I give your brain the capacity to solve problems as opposed to just one move at a time, then I'm going to put you in a better position to be successful and a better position in recruiting. I tell guys all the time, if I can teach your brain to hold all that, to give you bandwidth, then you go on to the NFL and you can handle whatever system that the Arizona Cardinals throw at you or the Kansas City Chiefs throw at you or the Cleveland Browns throw at you. So I think in that ways the guys that we've sent to the league in my career are really well prepared. So they have to be intelligent, and the way that you kind of figure that out is you ask them about their own offense, right? And then they have to be accurate. So, much has been made of the recent trend of quarterbacks going to the NFL that don't fit the prototypical Drew Bledsoe, 6'4", 230-pound model, that they're actually, Russell Wilsons of the world or Baker Mayfields or whoever. They're just slightly different than the measurable on the coaching document, recruiting document that you might think we would all receive. But they have to be accurate. So I watch a guy like you guys probably did. I watched a guy, Chad Pennington, have a tremendous career in the NFL, and his decision making, his accuracy was really, really great. Did he have the best arm strength? No. So, but I think accuracy is something that across all shapes and sizes that quarterbacks need to have. So competitiveness, intelligence, and accuracy.
Move to Mike McGarry, Atlantic City Press.
Coach, through this time now, have you come upon something that you thought, hey, we should have been doing this earlier, or an adjustment that you made because of what we're going through now that you kind of said maybe even in quote-unquote normal times we should have been doing? I'm just curious about how you kind of, brainstorming your way through what we're going through now, basically.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I've been in conversation with my dad. My dad's a high school teacher and coach. My wife is a former teacher. So some of and my first job out of college was a teacher and coach in North Jersey. So I think that this environment has put some pressure on me in the way that I teach. So, like installing an offensive play is very similar to how you would engage somebody in the classroom, right? So my wife has always told me that football coaches are great. They have a great way to appeal to all learning styles, right? Auditory learners, visual learners, go on down the list. But that I think there are at times, while we have video and we have whiteboards in the meeting room, I don't always make the best use of that, if that makes sense. So, like, we've had web meetings with our guys that I've done more work in preparation for those web meetings than I think I've ever done for a meeting in my whole career. Just because if you don't keep their attention, I see you guys too, you probably, when I get too long-winded, you start trailing off too, but if you don't keep their attention in the web environment, they start to wander a little. So obviously you got to harness the technology, but I think the lesson plan and how you provide drawings and things of that nature, I think it's made me a better coach and more deliberate. Coach Shiano said, Coach Wooden was famous for writing all of his stuff on an index card, and he would spend 2 hours of preparation for every hour of practice time that he had. So that adage has applied to me this spring. If I have an hour meeting with the quarterbacks at some point, I got to make sure that the way that the whole meeting flows and I anticipate some questions that they might have, I think it's made me a better coach that way.
Good, Mike?
Thank you.
All right, we'll move to Chris Nowalski.
All right. Hey, what's going on, Coach?
Not too much.
Cool. I just had a question. I know you mentioned that you want to bring a no-huddle offense. How does that affect the offensive line, and what do you need to see from them?
Yeah, I think everyone has their own individual responsibility in the no-huddle. The formation is something that is largely controlled by the wide receivers, so they got to get aligned really quickly to try to kind of keep the engine of the no-huddle going. But I would say that the offensive line has a responsibility, to kind of limit some of the things. One of the things that people say about the no-huddle is that because you're playing up-tempo, it limits some of the defense's ability to kind of dial up certain pressures because they're just too worried about getting aligned. So I think all parts of the offense have to work together and kind of like being like that press basketball team and keeping ourselves on the attack. So the offensive line would be responsible for getting on the ball very quickly and trailing the play and getting the running back off the ground. And in some ways that helps you kind of clarify what the front is supposed to look like when they can get on the ball as quickly as they can. They've responded to it really, really well. And my only evidence of it is just the way that they have approached their level of conditioning in the workouts that we had. So I'm seeing them respond really, really well. And I know Andy Arick is one of the best coaches that I've ever been around. So if there's any guy that's responsible for taking a group to the next level, I think he'll, he's going to be the guy to do it.
Yeah, and then before you mentioned going fast, you guys brought in Aaron Cruikshank from Wisconsin. What can he do for you in your offense?
Speed, man. Everything that I said before about a fast offense, we want to be a fast no-huddle, but we literally want fast people. So, when you watch a kid like him return kicks the way that he did, we're all very excited to kind of add some speed to the offense. But Aaron, along with all the other guys, they're going to prove their mettle when we get out practicing. So whether it's the quarterbacks or the wideouts or the O-line, the cream is definitely going to rise to the top, and we can't wait to see the product that we get after all those hard-earned reps are in the bank.
Cool. Okay. Thank you.
Coach?
Welcome. I just wanted to touch on Andy for a second. How important is it to have someone next to you as the O-line coach that you know so well?
Great question. So the two, you think about an offense, right? And what is our task right now in this process is we've got to get this offense off the ground. Well, in different position groups, there's more guys than another. Someone mentioned earlier how many wideouts we have, right? So the two rooms that have the most people are wide receiver and offensive line, right? So you would expect me as a coordinator, I would love to be able to teach everybody individually, but you have to entrust the guys that you work with to impart wisdom and knowledge to their groups, especially the ones where there's a lot of guys. That's a big undertaking. So like for me, when I walk in the building and Andy is there, short of a couple changes that I want to make just because of my travels and he, being at Princeton last year as a coordinator himself, he had some things that he brought to the table and kind of made recommendation to me as well. So I think that's all part of being a good leader is giving, input, but also taking it as well. And Andy from day one, his ability to kind of like get everyone up to speed and us speaking the same language is of great value to me. I can't say that enough. So.
All right, we have time for 2 more questions. Anybody have any follow-ups?
Sean, it's Cratch. I just have to ask you, how did you become the Del Barton bowling coach? I really could never nail down that part of the origin story.
Okay, so I'm going to try to keep this G-rated. There was an opening at Del Barton, and I'm not going to get into why there was an opening, but I happened to be at that time doing the hockey clock and the basketball clock as part of my winter assignment. When you go to Del Barton as a young coach, they give you every job that no one wants. So whether it was football coaching or baseball coaching or summer baseball, I did everything. So the winter time, though, I was just at a clock assignment. So Dan Whalen was the athletic director, and when the opening came about, he walked right up to my classroom and he said, "Do you know anything about bowling?" And I said, "Absolutely not." He goes, "Well, good. You just got hired as the head bowling coach." So I kind of learned on the fly. The first rule I instituted was no cheese fries during the bowling match. So we had to wait till after the match was over. But it was what a great experience to kind of, literally jumping into something you have no idea what to do and trying to get it organized. And we had some fun, though.
Final question? Last call? All right.
Hey, Sean, where are you?
Where am I currently living?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, we moved back to Princeton. So,
Okay.
my wife, having moved so many times in the last couple of years, we have 2 young kids. I got a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old, and she's actually pregnant again too. So,
Congrats.
Thank you very much. We thought that going back to a place where we kind of knew where everything was really important. So we went back to the same doctors. So.
Did you guys get situated before the whole world fell apart?
Yeah, that was one of our goals. So we wanted a quick turnaround. We sold the house in about a week, which was a blessing. And then I got them here. I took the job, I think, on January 3rd, and she was here by the first week of February. So it was a quick turnaround. So we spent almost 2 months apart when I went to Oklahoma State, which was, I got 2 young kids. My family is everything to me, whether it's the extended family that helped raise me, my aunts and uncles and dad and grandma and grandpa and everybody. But my nuclear family now is everything. So getting them to New Jersey was something that we wanted to make a priority. So I got them home. She didn't want to fly with the kids for a second straight year, so she made the cross country trip herself, which I thought was admirable with 2 kids. So.
All right, thanks everyone for joining today. Thank you, Coach.
Hey, Sean.
Thanks, guys. Great job.
Thanks, Coach.
Have a good one, everyone.
How you doing, guys?
You okay?